Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. The women's correctional facility is a different kind of jungle. It's a world of whispers, of alliances, of a quiet and often brutal psychological warfare. Lena, the gentle nurse, was not built for this world. She was a ghost, a shell, her heart a cold and empty room. She spent the first few years in a fog of a deep and profound depression. She did her work, she ate her meals, she followed the rules, but she was not there. She was a body, moving through the motions of a life that had lost all meaning. The other inmates, women who had been in and out of the system their whole lives, they saw her for what she was, a victim, not of the law, but of a man, and they gave her a wide and respectful berth. She was a tragic figure, a walking and talking cautionary tale, the woman who had thrown her life away for a man who was already dead. Dante on death row was in his own and final kind of prison. He had nothing left but time and his own and torturous thoughts. He wrote to her, long and rambling and profoundly remorseful letters. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He knew he didn't deserve it. He just wrote. He told her the truth, the whole and ugly and selfish truth about the con, about the manipulation, about the monster he had been. It was a final and desperate act of a confession. Lena received the letters. She didn't read them at first. She just let them pile up, a stack of unopened ghosts from her past. But one day she opened one and she saw not the poet, not the con man, but a man stripped bare of all his lies, a man who was finally and brutally honest. And in his honesty, she found a strange and unexpected kind of peace. She started to write back. Her letters were not filled with love or with hate. They were just honest. She told him about her own and quiet and lonely hell. She told him about the woman he had destroyed. And in that shared and brutal honesty, a new and strange and fragile kind of connection was formed. Not a connection of love, but a connection of a shared and tragic humanity. Two broken people on opposite sides of a wall, finding their way back to themselves in the ruins of their shared and devastating past. The correspondence between Dante and Lena became a lifeline for both of them. It was a quiet and profound and deeply personal act of a mutual and slow healing. They were two souls in two separate cages, finding their way back to a kind of grace, one honest word at a time. Lena started to come back to life. She started a book club in the prison, sharing the stories that had once been her own and only escape. She became a mentor to the younger women, the ones who were lost in the same and tragic cycle of a bad love and a bad choice. She used her own story as a warning and as a source of a quiet and hard-won hope. Dante in his final years found his own and quiet kind of redemption. He wrote his memoirs, not as a justification, but as a confession, a raw and honest look at the life of a man who had been consumed by the darkness of his own and selfish heart. He gave the manuscript to Lena, his final and most important letter. His execution date was set. Lena did not go. She did not believe in the death penalty. She believed in a different kind of justice, a justice that was not about an eye for an eye, but about the slow and difficult and beautiful work of healing a broken soul. The night he was executed, she sat in her cell and she read his story. And she wept, not for the man she had loved, but for the man he could have been, and for the woman she had, against all odds, become. Lena was released on parole after 15 years. She walked out of those gates a different woman. The naive and gentle nurse was gone. In her place was a woman with a quiet and unshakable strength, a woman who had been to hell and who had, against all odds, found her way back. She took Dante's manuscript and she had it published. The book, Love Letters and a Loaded Gun, became a quiet and powerful sensation. It was a raw and honest and brutal look at the seductive and deadly nature of a prison romance, and it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Lena became an advocate for prison reform, a voice for the forgotten women who were languishing in cages, often for the sins of the men they had loved. She used her own story and Dante's as a powerful and cautionary tale, a tale of a love that had been a lie and of a lie that had in the end been transformed into a hard-won and beautiful truth. And this story is a hard one because it shows you the dark and manipulative side of a love that is born in a cage. But it's also a story of hope, a story of the power of a human connection, even one that is born in a lie, to transform, to heal, and to redeem. Dante had been a monster, but in the end, in his own and final act of honesty, he had found a measure of grace. And Lena, the victim, had become a warrior, a healer, a voice for the voiceless. She had taken the wreckage of her own life and she had built something new, something beautiful, something that would last. And so we come to the end of the story of the love letters and the loaded gun. A story that reminds us that the most dangerous prisons are not the ones with steel bars. They are the ones we build for ourselves and the ones that others build for us, out of lies, out of manipulation, and out of a twisted and poisonous kind of love. Dante was a master of that kind of construction. He had built a beautiful and elaborate cage for Lena, and she had walked into it willingly, blinded by her own and compassionate and ultimately foolish heart. But her story is not a story of a victim. It is a story of a survivor, a woman who found a way to break free, not just from the physical cage, but from the mental one. And in doing so, she became a hero. Her story is a powerful reminder to the women out there who might be in a similar situation, who might be trapped in a relationship that feels more like a prison than a partnership. You are not alone. There is help. And you are stronger than you know. And it is a reminder to us all that the human heart is a resilient and mysterious thing. It can be broken, it can be shattered, but it can also heal. It can learn to forgive, it can learn to love again, and that in the end is the only victory that truly matters. The quiet and hard-won and profoundly beautiful victory of the human spirit. The final chapter of this story belongs to Lena. She dedicated the rest of her life to the work she had started. Her foundation, built on the royalties from Dante's book, became a haven for women who were coming out of the system, a place of healing, of hope, of a shared and unbreakable community. She never forgot Dante. He was a ghost that would always walk with her. But he was no longer a monster. He was just a story, a sad and tragic and ultimately cautionary story. A story that she told not with anger, but with a quiet and compassionate wisdom. And in telling his story, she was not just honoring the man he could have been. She was saving other women from the man he was. She had taken a story of a profound and personal betrayal, and she had turned it into a gift to the world. And that is a kind of alchemy, a kind of magic that is a wonder to behold. It is the magic of a heart that has been broken and that has, against all odds, learned to love again. Not a man, but the world and all the other broken hearts in it. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.